Homes, when you're looking for attention to detail and a uniquely designed home to suit all your needs. At Devrite Homes, we only build a limited number of homes per year, so we can truly focus on what you want out of a prestige home builder. We've continually won awards for excellence, with a record number of wins last year and the proud winner of the Australian Townhouse Villa of the Year. While we love building homes to suit each client, we pride ourselves on designing homes that take into account the special safety needs of some of our clients. If you have a dream, we can make it come true. Talk to Jay Mangano and find out more about Devrite Homes at www.devrite.com.au.
This is the Sattler Files.
Welcome back to the Sattler Files. My name is Murray Korf, and with me in the studio today is Jay Mangano from Devrite Homes of Distinction. Hello,
Hi.
Jay.
How are you today, Murray?
Good, thank you. Good.
That's good.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about trust and how that works in business, because I know that you have a rule, don't you?
I do. My number one rule in business is don't do business. If people don't trust me, I won't do business with them.
Yeah.
They have no reason not to trust me, so they're not judging me on my morals, they're judging me on theirs.
Absolutely.
Those that don't trust are not trustworthy.
Well, that's an interesting observation, because quite probably they're not.
No, without a doubt they're not. If someone doesn't trust, it's because that's the way they do business, that's the way they think everyone else does business, so they're covering themselves straight up.
I see exactly where you're coming from, because it makes absolute sense to me, because they are suspicious and untrusting, because that's exactly what they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And people say, you get someone comes up with unfair trading terms and you say, this is unfair trading terms. And they go, oh yeah, but people rip me off. Everybody in business has been ripped off. Everybody. Everybody.
You haven't been in business if you haven't been ripped off.
You don't change your morals because someone ripped you off. You deal with it and you move on. So if you've changed your morals because someone ripped you off, well,
you're not a true business person, are you?
No. So
because we're all going to run across those sorts of people in our life and in our business world and in our private world, aren't we? We're going to run across people who desperately want to take you down.
Yeah, there's people that just do it as a way of life. They don't know any other. They don't even know that what they're doing is wrong, and that's just unfortunate. But there are those people out there. And you don't want to get caught with one, because...
No, you don't. You don't. Because
life's
you're forever...
too short.
Well, it is, and you're forever on your guard about them and all of that sort of stuff. But I suppose in the building trade, there are those that would try and take you down and do the wrong thing, both from a client perspective and I suppose from a builder perspective as well.
Yeah, it works both ways, and both people need to be trusting, and both people need to work together. And if one is one or the other, and it's not doesn't necessarily have to be always the builder; it can be the client.
Of course, it can.
That's at fault. One or the other is not playing by the same rules, then it will be a long process, and it will be hard work.
Yeah,
and no one wants that, surely.
No, not by choice. You wouldn't want to do that. But, of course, within the building industry, there are a lot of rules and a lot of regulations, and those rules and regulations are designed to protect both sides of a contract, aren't they? Both the builder and the client.
Yes. If it gets to court, usually the builder is the one that's... They would be harder on the builder because supposedly he's a business person and should know better and should... And
extraordinarily wealthy and all that.
Yeah. Well, they're all extraordinarily wealthy, aren't they? I think. But in logical terms, the builder's just a person like everyone else, and, he's no smarter than anyone else. So everybody should be paying by the same rules.
Well, now, when it comes to building, and whether you're doing a whole house or whether you're just having some work done, there's a point, isn't there, at which everybody plays by the same rules. Yeah.
Yeah, over $20,000.
Okay.
Over $20,000, we're all bound by the Act.
Yep.
So that's everybody that does work within the construction industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the main ones of those is the money that will come into play. So if it's over $20,000, they can only ask for 6.5% deposit. That's it, no more.
Yep.
They cannot charge for anything that's not on site.
Okay, so if they haven't delivered material, they can't charge you for it. So in other words, they can't ask you for the money, then go and buy it.
No.
And then put it on site. They can't do that.
They can't do that. Even a lot of it comes up in like cabinet makers.
I would imagine.
They've actually made your cabinets, but they're in their factory. But they can't charge for them until they come to site.
Okay.
Because that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's the law.
Yeah.
And that goes for any cabinet maker. So it doesn't matter if they're just doing it for a renovation. If the contract is over $20,000, if the invoice is over $20,000, then
So that's when the 6.5% maximum deposit comes into play.
Yes.
And
only can charge for what's on site.
Yep.
Nothing.
And so at that point, after so you've paid your 6.5% deposit, you've now got your goods. Let's say it's a kitchen or something like that. So once that turns up on site, they're then entitled to charge you another fee or another part of the total invoice. Is that right?
So they can charge for any materials or work that's been done up to that point. So still again can't charge for anything that's not been done. So if they were doing the plumbing and it's not been done, they can't charge for that. They have to wait until the next payment to get that.
So they could essentially, let's say we're talking about the kitchen and the cabinets arrive on site, they can charge you for the cabinets and how much work they've done on them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they install the cabinets and then they can ask for a final payment then?
Yeah. Once they've done all the work, they can get their money. So they can it's just you cannot charge for anything up front.
So they're not allowed to say to you, for example, look, cabinets are on site and you've paid me for that, so give us the rest and I'll come and finish the job.
No.
Not allowed
to do that.
Not allowed to do that.
You've got to do the work before you can charge.
Yeah.
That's over $20,000. Under $20,000, they doesn't matter.
I was going to ask you about that. So let's take another scenario, a bit of a smaller job where it's say 15.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to do what they like?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I mean, you're still not allowed to engage in unfair practices. I mean, you're not allowed to do that. But under 20, yes.
Interesting, because once again, this gets down to your trust. The thing you talked about, trust.
Yeah. You have to be careful out there if you're doing something and they go, oh, how about we split the bill? How about I'll give you a contract for this part of the work and we'll do another contract for that part of the work. Then what they're doing is shirking their responsibilities.
So two invoices at 15.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So if someone comes to you and they're going to build you a kitchen for $30,000 and they say, well, I'll charge you for when the cabinets are done and I'll charge you 15, and then when the rest of it's done I'll charge you 15. You can't.
Okay, and then then they get out of the 6% deposit thing because they're only going to charge you 15 for the first one, and then they're going to charge you another 15 at the end. So they can get bigger depotsits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really sneaky. So how many?
So more or less doing two contracts for the one job. Rather than so
that's getting around not in the spirit of the rule or the law, is it?
No, but there are people out there that do not play by the spirit of the rules.
Surprise, surprise,
surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that's really quite unconscionable. A lot of people wouldn't realise that. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't realise that. For example, you go to a kitchen craft or whoever they are. A lot of people wouldn't realise that. If it goes over $20,000, they're only entitled to 6%. A lot of people wouldn't know that.
No, a lot of businesses don't know that. So
really?
Well, we have had one case where clients of ours did some cabinet work for themselves after handover. It wasn't good. We went and had some discussions, and we said, this is, you need to have it fixed because it's really bad, really, really bad. And we said, if you've paid over 20 grand, then they're bound by the same laws, so you can go to the Builders Registration Board. And they rang them and said, we want it fixed. And they said, well, it's going to cost you this to take it out and throw it in the river, or it'll cost you that to fix it. And they go, well, no, what you've done is against the law, so we're going to go to the Builders Registration Board unless it's fixed. They said, no, we do this all day, every day. It's not against the law. Well, if you think that, that's fine.
You can think that all you like, but this is the rule. So basically, ignorance of the law is no excuse, is it? I mean, you've got to know what rules you're working under. But you think they genuinely didn't know?
No, they genuinely didn't know. But they did. My client rang me and they said, well, they've said it's not. They do it all day, every day. What do you think they're going to do? And I said, well, if they've got any brains, they're going to ring up and check. If they don't, they'll just go along their merry way until you go to the Builders Registration Board.
And then they'll be audited and all sorts of things.
2 days later, they rang back and said they'd fix it. So they obviously did check to see that what was being said was true, and they did fix it. So
in this instance, this was a Devrite home that was built, and then your client then decided that they wanted some other stuff, and yet you went in and assisted them with their difficulty with another contractor.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Jay, because there's not a lot of builders that would do that, and that's just another reason why people should be looking at Devrite Homes of Distinction. Surely.
Yeah. Well,
that's after sales service up and beyond.
Well, this was their theatre room that they did. Theatre room and the office downstairs they did after handover. And it was, but we've spent so long building their house, we don't want someone to come along and mess it up.
No.
And as little as that was, it was going to be a bad building experience, even though it had nothing to do with us. It was still going to wreck that building experience. Because these people, it was shocking. It was like some Indonesian kids that had the stain out in the shed, and everyone stained their bit of different colour, and some of it was orange. And they go, this is not stained, this is natural timber, and you think, how come it's orange?
But you see, the thing is, the point I was trying to make is that even although it was nothing to do with you, and the contract that you had with this client of yours had, been fulfilled and finished, you still went in and advocated for them in a difficulty that they were having, and that's above and beyond the call, in my view. And obviously, it's something that you do for your clients.
Yeah, we do. We do try and help everyone. We do try and do the right thing by everyone. But like everything, as it says, givers have to set limits because takers never do. So
Quite right.
So we have to be careful because we have to put a limit on things too.
Of course you do. But obviously you saw the merit in this and decided to help them out.
Most of our clients will end up friends, so it's not anything we'd even think about doing. I mean, we've gone back and fixed broken keys in doors and things that clearly are nothing to do with us, but it's just.
But nonetheless, it really is an outstanding thing to do. I mean, it's just follow up, and people don't feel as though they've been left, and you throw the keys at them and say, "Have a nice life, and we'll see you some other time."
Yeah, people ring us up years afterwards and say, "So this has happened. What should I do about it?" And you go, "Well, this is what you should do." And it doesn't hurt to help people and tell them. And if we've got knowledge that they can use, well, then all good and well.
Well, it's a fantastic way to do business. And
yes, it is.
I'm serious. It is. Because you wouldn't get that from a car.
No,
buying a car.
You wouldn't get that from anything. I think we need to get back to. Everybody needs to get back to decent business principles.
I think you're right, Jay, but in some respects I think people can we do have to accept some responsibility for the way it is now, because people do drive prices down and down and down, and they want margins cut to as skinny as you can get. And little wonder that people cut and run. You know, businesses cut and run, say, well, okay, you got it for the below bargain basement price, and now you still want more. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, that's it. If you'll get what you pay for. Anywhere in life, you're going to get what you pay for. So if you want to screw them down to the last dollar, then expect that's what's going to happen.
You won't get anything back.
Fortunately, there's a lot of businesses now are run by accountants, and accountants tell businesses to cut costs. So they're cutting costs as fast as they can. The only thing that is the service goes, the quality goes, all those things happen.
My view is we give accountants way too much control. Way too much control.
Yeah.
And look, it's not only in building, it's in all sorts of industries as well.
Brick shortage that we had a few years back, we had a brick shortage. That was supposedly all done by the accountants, because the accountants decided they weren't going to keep that many bricks anymore, and they were going to make them as they wanted. And of course, that worked until boom came,
until it didn't work,
and then there was no bricks.
Well, the rule for accountants, I mean, we've got to get back to this, that we make the money, you're there to count it.
Yes. I mean, and do a really good job about counting it too.
And yes, absolutely do that. But I mean, the reality is that we do give them too much control, and they have they've done a lot of damage in a lot of industries, not just building, but also, well, in my former industry, which is commercial radio, they've done an incredible amount of damage there. And it's, keep them under control, keep a tight rein on them, lock them in a room.
I remember when I was back in mining, we had, I used to drive dump trucks for a living.
Right.
When I was in my younger days.
Yeah.
And we had tyres that just were normal tyres. And then all of a sudden we had this batch of tyres that had a different tread on it, had a circle and a line going off each corner of the circle. So I had lots of pattern on the tread. And haul trucks, if you've ever driven a haul truck, they slide really easily. So if you're on a wet road, they just slide. And you're in a 200-ton haul truck and you're sliding down the road, it's not a good feeling.
No.
And all of a sudden we've got these new tyres, and they held the road really, really well. So, but they were more expensive. So, safety was not important in that case. It was we went back to the old tyres, even though they didn't hold the road as well. We weren't going to get them because they actually cost more money. So, there was no way the accountants were going to let us have them. No,
they do a lot of damage, and unfortunately, we do need them. But at the end of the day, they do constitute a bit of a problem for those firms like yours that really want to provide good service and good after-sale service.
Yes, they do. But all the products that go into houses, they're all been subject to the same thing, the same cost cutting. Everything now comes from China, obviously. So it's just we just have to watch. And you think it would be really good if we could get back to manufacturing anything in Australia.
It would be great, wouldn't it? And, of course, people do come unstuck with getting stuff in from overseas, China. I mean, we just have to look at the Children's Hospital and all the kerfuffle that's going on about the tiles there containing asbestos.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have the same controls.
No.
You hear stories about people will go over there and they'll buy windows over in China. The Chinese don't care about the Australian government. They'll give you an invoice that says anything that you want and you can bring it in and pay duty on this false invoice. And you think, how come the government's not checking the money that goes from this person's account to that person's account? Because they don't take less money. They just give the invoice that says they do. And so people are, and you think,
how does that work? That's
surely the government is good enough to track the money that goes overseas from one person to another. You think that the mind boggles that they would even think that was able to be done. And obviously it is, because otherwise they wouldn't be offering.
No, of course not.
To write false invoices.
Indeed. And of course that's a big one. Then that was discovered by a union and all sorts of things like that. But I guess that if you're cutting corners and buying stuff in from China, there's always the danger in a home building environment that those sorts of things could slip through if you are driving the cost down to the last dollar.
Oh, there's lots of people have been caught with taps. We have
taps, is that right?
We have standards that we've got to, so we can't use anything that's not watermarked in Australia. And that's a test and that is the government has set up and it's got to apply. But if you go over to China, you can buy millions of taps. There's acres and acres of them there. And if you buy one of those, and they don't have the same makeup, so there's dezinkification and all this.
Oh, is that right? So there's, even for a simple run-of-the-mill tap, there are those sorts of requirements, are there?
Yeah, there's people, yeah. Every tap that comes in has to be watermarked in Australia, unless you're bringing it in for yourself and you're only doing a one-off.
Oh, right, yeah, different.
You can, but nobody can bring them in that and sell them if they're not watermarked.
Goodness me.
Yeah, so people go over there and buy taps, and they're not watermarked, and
then that can lead to all sorts of trouble.
All sorts of trouble, yeah.
But that's as a consequence of driving the price down and not allowing the builder enough margin to make a living.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, we have a lot, but it's every business. So if I'm building someone's house and they go into a shop and tell them that they're building a house and they're looking for taps, those businesses will try and cut me out of it. They'll try and sell the taps to this client because they know as soon as they walk out the door that they've lost that business. But if they can convince them that they'll sell them to them cheaper than the builder will, well, then there's a likelihood they might get that contract, that sale. So, and it happens with taps and those sorts of sanitary, and it happens with appliances. So they will try and they'll go into a retail shop and they'll convince them that they're going to give it to them to the same price they'd give it to the builder for. So you should really buy it direct because then you're going to cut the builder out. But there's lots of things that go with cutting the builder out.
I was about to say, why would you do that to somebody that's building probably an asset that's one of your biggest investments in your life? Why would you do that? Cut them out and make them cross?
Well, there's all sorts of problems that go with it. There's the delivery to site. So you look after it, you deliver it to site. If it gets stolen, I'm not going to cover it because I don't care. It's not mine, so I can't produce a receipt. So I'm not going. And things aren't covered by insurance anyhow. No, because there's a $5,000 excess. So they come and steal your taps. They're not going to be covered by insurance. So, but the cabinet work. Make sure your cabinet work's made the right size to fit your cooking gear. All those things. Why should I bother if I'm not involved? You're going to supply it yourself, or you make sure it's the right size. You make sure.
But when people do that sort of thing, does that, as a builder of distinctive homes and so on, do you feel a little resentful about that?
Depends on the clients. Some clients, most clients, because we're friends with them, by the time you say, well, that's fine, let's just do it, and we'll still manage it. But then you've got the rubbish removal and all those things. If you're not making markup, you can't afford to be taking someone else's rubbish away because it's like $800 a load away. You can't afford to be taking someone's rubbish away that you're not making any money on. So they don't realise all the
flow-on effects.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And rubbish is a huge one.
I'll bet it is,
Huge.
yeah. And I mean, everything that you do, every component that you buy for a house, there is something in it for the builder, isn't it? So every time you circumvent that, that's a little bit less profit that you make on a house.
Yeah.
And people should think about that, really.
Yeah. And the builder has to make money, or otherwise it's not going to be a builder.
No,
in
why
business.
would you do it if you're not making money?
Because my cabinet maker says I may as well go broke fishing as go broke working.
It's a very good philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing story, because I hadn't really realised all of that, because it does have an enormous flow-on effect.
Yeah, it does. So appliances is a huge one, where there's a lot of things involved. You come back with a steam oven and all of a sudden it's got 15 amp plug instead of a
10 or
10
something.
amp, and if it's nothing to do with me, I won't know. Does it need water to the steam oven? Does it need a drain? All those things, someone's got to think about them. If you don't know,
then you can't provide for it.
Yeah.
You're not a mind reader, are you?
No. Fridges is another thing that people always think there's a standard size for a fridge.
No.
People go, I just make my oven a standard size, and you go, what's the standard size?
Even I know that, and I'm dumb. But I mean, that's what you want, the finished product to be really, really good and everything work. And why would you try and shortcut that to save yourself a few dollars when in reality you're not? Because by the time you have to get somebody back, for example, to put a 15 amp GPO in there instead of a 10 and all that sort of stuff, you're spending more money.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be wired back to the board as well.
As a 15 amp one,
To do it after the event is a lot harder than doing it when you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just horrendous job to do it after.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Yeah.
Jay, thank you so much for being with us today. I've learned, as I always do when we chat, I learn an awful lot. So one of these days when I actually do build a house, I'll know a thing or two. So thank you so much for being with us and alerting us to all of the sorts of things that can go on behind the scenes.
Yes, thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Jay. We've been talking to Jay Mangano from Devrite Homes of Distinction, and we'll be back with more on the Sattler File shortly.
This is the Sattler File.
Devrite Homes, when you're looking for attention to detail and a uniquely designed home to suit all your needs. At Devrite Homes, we only build a limited number of homes per year, so we can truly focus on what you want out of a prestige home builder. We've continually won awards for excellence, with a record number of wins last year and the proud winner of the Australian Townhouse Villa of the Year. While we love building homes to suit each client, we pride ourselves on designing homes that take into account the special safety needs of some of our clients. If you have a dream, we can make it come true. Talk to Jay Mangano and find out more about Devrite Homes at www.devrite.com.au.
This is the Sattler File.